Hi guys, my name is Barry and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at scrapped scripts yet again from Taking Shape Part 2. This time it's going to be Halloween 666, The Origin. Now this one is a mess. Halloween 6 itself, The Curse of Michael Myers, is already a mess of a movie. We've got 3 versions of the official movie itself, so we know that it's definitely a mess from beginning to the very end. And when reading this chapter, my mind was actually blown as to how much of a mess the production of Halloween 6 had been from the very beginning. And this all began back in the late 80s, the early 90s, leading up to 1995 until we got the eventual movie. So strap yourselves in, guys, get yourself a drink, get some popcorn, because this might be a long video. Halloween 666, The Origin screenplay, was written by Phil Rosenberg initially. Now, we're going to get some of the backstory before we get into his actual story itself, because the backstory leading up to his script is very interesting. Now, Don Shanks and Danielle Harris were expected to return for whatever carnation that we got with whatever script that we got, but they were contacted before the scripts were even written, and they were told, wait for our call because you're coming back as Jamie Lloyd and Michael Myers, but they just never got the call. There's more to it for Danielle Harris, but that's for other episodes. But with Don Shanks, he said that I got a phone call saying you're going to come back as Michael Myers, and then before I knew it, Halloween 6 was out and I never got the call at all. October 1990 was the original release date for Halloween 6. For whatever script was supposed to come out, that was the release date that we were supposed to be getting, which is just a year after Halloween 5. Unfortunately for Moustapha Akkad, and I didn't know this, he lost the rights to Halloween and Michael Myers. I didn't know that. I thought he always had the rights. So between Halloween 5 and 6, he lost the rights, and what he had to do was make a joint bid to get the rights back with Miramax. I don't know what would have happened if Miramax didn't join in, if he couldn't afford it or whatever, but I had no idea. I thought he only joined forces with Miramax because he wanted to, not because he had to. Another interesting fact was, at the same time as Moustapha Akkad joined forces with Miramax to take over Halloween again, John Carpenter and New Line joined forces to put in a bid to outbid them to gain control of Halloween. However, they were declined because John Carpenter's idea for Michael Myers was to put him into space. Yep, put him into space. I don't know if that is John Carpenter just having no clue about films at this point anymore because he's not a filmmaker anymore, or if he was still trying to sabotage the Halloween name and Michael Myers because of what happened previously. He fell out with Moustapha Akkad, and maybe he was just doing it to kill Michael Myers once and for all so that nobody would be interested in any future Halloween project. Luckily, he didn't get control and it went to Moustapha Akkad and Miramax. I'm not saying what they done was any better. It was great, but surely it would have been better than what John Carpenter had in store for Michael Myers. Now, with Moustapha Akkad and Miramax getting control, this is where the problems began, because Moustapha Akkad, being Moustapha Akkad, he wanted to have the final say on everything, which he still eventually did, but he didn't like any ideas that Miramax had, but at the same time, Miramax also didn't like any ideas that Moustapha Akkad had, so it was a recipe for disaster. It was Miramax's idea to bring in Phil Rosenberg. He actually drafted the script for this Halloween 666, The Origin, and it came from him, but Moustapha Akkad, he didn't quite like it. If we get into Rosenberg's script, he left out Jamie Lloyd and the Man in Black. Now, the Man in Black does appear in his script, but as a different person, which I'll tell you about soon. Rosenberg's idea was to explore Michael Myers' family tree, and there was going to be an investigative journalist who was investigating the family tree who uncovers a few things while doing so. Akkad didn't like the idea to begin with at all, and I think he didn't give it a chance because whatever Miramax was putting in front of him, without reading it, he was just throwing it away. He's like, nope, don't like that idea, don't like that idea. I think he wanted to make it uncomfortable for Miramax. In the early stages before this script was even put together, Quentin Tarantino, and I'm sure you've heard this before, but Quentin Tarantino was considered to not only write the film, but also direct the film. Now, this was before the success of Pulp Fiction, so I think if they wanted to get him in there, they had to do it fast. At the time, Miramax was so invested in Quentin Tarantino that they loved Reservoir Dogs, they loved the script for True Romance, that they fully funded his film Pulp Fiction at the time. This was to actually sway Quentin Tarantino to be involved in the Halloween film, because Miramax were like, well, we're giving you all the money for Pulp Fiction, so do us a favour and at least write and or direct Halloween 6. Tarantino actually did try and write something for Halloween 6, but he was a bit stumped about where he would go with what happened after Halloween 5. He was wondering who this man in black was. He had no idea where he would even put Michael Myers into this situation. I think his idea was something like he would put Michael Myers and the man in black on the road, and they would go from town to town, bus stop to bus stop, and just kill people. That was his kind of funny idea as to where he would go with it, but it didn't come to anything. Roger Avary, who actually works with Tarantino quite a bit, he was brought in as well to give a pitch on what he thinks Halloween 6 should be. And he actually wrote a mini pitch called Insaniac, but again, that went nowhere. Quentin Tarantino eventually declined to write and direct, or even write or direct this film, so they asked him if he wanted to be an executive producer on the movie. I think the biggest missed opportunity was for Scott Spiegel, because Scott Spiegel was brought in to give his pitch as well, and he had a pitch, and apparently the pitch was good. And he was a big thing at the time. He had just finished directing Intruder, which was a fantastic horror movie. And he works with Quentin Tarantino and Roger Avary quite a bit as well. He was also part of Evil Dead 2. So he's quite rich in horror. And that also went nowhere. I think the big issue with Scott Spiegel was he was brought in, he spoke to Mustafa Akkad. They handed Scott Phil Rosenberg's script to see what he would do to change up a little bit. He looked at it and thought, I can't do anything with this. This is the worst script I've ever read. Not those exact words, but that's the way he implied it, that he thought the script was absolutely terrible and there's no way to salvage what was written on the page. So he didn't want anything to do with the Halloween movie after reading that script, because that's the script they were thinking about going with. He said that it was similar to Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, where Michael Myers is a homeless person wandering about killing people. And I didn't like Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, so if that was the way that we're going with this Halloween 6, I would probably agree with Scott Spiegel. I think Mustafa Akkad felt so hurt by Scott Spiegel's words that he just thought there's no chance that Scott Spiegel is going to be involved in any Halloween film. After Spiegel declined to even look at the script any further, Scott Rosenberg, who is Phil's brother, he had a chance to look at the script and give it a bit of a polish. I think because there's so many people looking at Phil's script, if I was Phil, I would be like, okay, clearly my script isn't that good, because people keep getting called in to try and fix what I think is possibly a good script. And because time passed so long, it got to 1994 after Pulp Fiction, because Quentin Tarantino became an instant success after Pulp Fiction, even though it was already a bit of a success anyway. Because of after Pulp Fiction and all the awards that it won, there was no chance now that Quentin Tarantino was going to put his name anywhere near a Halloween sequel, especially Halloween 6. So we can forget executive producer, writer, director, anything like that. He wasn't involved anymore because of the success of Pulp Fiction and the delay to Halloween 6. If he'd done this fast, if they thought, let's get the script done, let's get this done, that done, and this done, we could be looking at a Halloween 6 that had some sort of involvement with Tarantino, but because of Akkad and Miramax not agreeing with each other, it never happened. So with all that out of the way, guys, let's actually look at the script that Phil Rosenberg wrote for Halloween 666, The Origin. Dana Childress is the new main character. She's a 27 reporter who visits Haddonfield to investigate Michael Myers or the murders that have led up to this year. At the beginning of this film, Dana has a dream that sounded like urban legend, where there's a killer in the back seat and somebody's at the other end of the car saying there's somebody in the back seat. She turns around and it's Michael Myers and he kills her, and that's the dream where she wakes up from. Someone's in the back seat! it's not the only dream that she has in the script. She has multiple dreams, and we find out the connection between her and Michael Myers shortly. Tommy Doyle is back again, and he's a bit of a Michael Myers nut. He's obsessed with Michael Myers. He does a lot of investigating on Michael Myers. He's got a few roommates as well, and he keeps himself to himself. He even goes to Dr. Loomis for some advice as well. Not too dissimilar to the Tommy Doyle that we know in the eventual Halloween 6 that we got. It's the same with Loomis as well. Loomis is retired. He takes less of a role in this script than he does in the eventual Halloween 6, but in the original Halloween 6 that we actually got, The Curse of Michael Myers, Dr. Loomis doesn't really play a big role. He is retired and he's just there, whereas in this one he's definitely retired and takes nothing else to do with the story other than just give advice to Tommy Doyle.
Not dead. Just very much retired.
An interesting point that they make out very fast is Michael Myers at the beginning, when he kills people, he is unmasked. So we actually get an unmasked Michael Myers. I don't know if we see his face because they don't mention that, but it would be interesting to see an unmasked Michael Myers. How much we get to see of him, I don't know. We find out quickly that Dana and her crew are the ones that are getting followed throughout this film by Michael Myers, and of course Michael Myers will pick off her investigating crew one by one. Now in this script, Michael Myers is celebrated as an icon in Haddonfield, and to do that, around about Halloween time, they've got Michael Myers costumes. So it's not just Halloween costumes, it's Michael Myers costumes. So although Michael Myers is unmasked at the beginning of the movie, you can guess where he gets his costume from. So he goes into a store, finds an actual Michael Myers mask and costume outfit, and he puts that on so he looks like the original Michael Myers as he did before. It's a very easy way to give him his costume back, and it's probably the most realistic way to do it, because when you look at all the Halloween films out there, he just happens to stumble upon a mask that's similar to his own. He happens to stumble across a garage where he gets the coveralls from, whereas in this one, they make no mistakes about it. He gets a Michael Myers costume. Dana and her team go to the Myers house where they bump into Sheriff Meeker from Halloween 4. So we know that Halloween 4 and this Halloween 6 are connected, or Halloween 4, 5 and 6 are definitely connected together. Sheriff Meeker goes there every Halloween expecting Michael Myers to be there. He's not, but he goes every Halloween anyway, even though it's only been maybe a year or two that his daughter was killed by Michael Myers. One of Dana's tasks is to interview people around Haddonfield. She bumps into Tommy Doyle. She tries to interview Tommy Doyle, but he declines any type of interview. Judith Myers' tombstone makes an appearance in this film, and it's very important in this script, which you'll find out. But Tommy Doyle's roommates steal her tombstone for a joke for a Halloween party and try to use it as a prop for Halloween. Frank and June Wallace appear in this movie. They are the parents to Lindsay Wallace. Now, Lindsay Wallace isn't in this film. She's moved. She's a little bit older now. It's only Tommy that stays. So Lindsay leaves, but her parents play a role in the film. In this script, they are actually friends with the Myers family, and they've got old reels of the Myers family and the Wallace family having picnics together. They showed Dana some of the old footage of the Myers family and the Wallace family, and Dana notices that Michael Myers' grandmother is the spitting image of Dana's grandmother. In a shocking twist, we find out that Dana and Michael Myers are related. Yep, you guessed it, they are brother and sister. Now this is where the script gets really bizarre. We do get a repetitiveness of them being siblings, brother and sister no doubt, but this is where it gets really bizarre. Tommy Doyle is into his virtual reality. He's got a virtual reality headset, and Dana uses this virtual reality headset to look into the past of Michael Myers, sort of like a visual Wikipedia, and she looks into way beyond 1963, back to the beginning where the Myers family were actually cursed, and then it cuts to 1963 where we see Michael Myers being cursed as a 6-year-old child. It also tells them that Judith Myers' tombstone, for some bizarre reason, acts as a portal every Halloween, and this portal is the only way to get rid of Michael Myers for good. But the one rule is this portal only opens between midnight and 1 a.m. The ending of the movie would consist of Dana trapping Michael Myers, going to this cemetery in the rain, and then eventually getting Michael Myers and tricking him and throwing him into this portal. The only issue with this was After they successfully put Michael Myers into the portal and he disappears, they notice that the time is after 1 a.m, so they don't know for sure if it worked or if they actually got him in on time. We see the cemetery keeper, Father Carpenter, who's in the distance laughing about it as if he knows that Michael Myers didn't get in on time. Now, the interesting fact about Father Carpenter is he is actually Reverend Sayre from Halloween 4. After we see him laughing in the background as if maybe you didn't kill him, maybe you did, that's where the story ends. Did they get him in on time? Who knows? Out of all the scripts I've read so far in this book, I think this is the one that's just the most bizarre, the most nuts. Having a VR headset, although we do use VR today, so they're quite advanced for their time, but having a virtual reality headset, I don't know how that would look. Now, they did say it was quite similar to Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday, and the issue with that is that only came out a year prior to this script, so maybe there was a bit of plagiarism there. That's not confirmed, but it just seems like too much virtual reality, so much maybe they're trying to utilise CGI because CGI was just getting a little bit bigger at the time. I don't know, but this virtual reality thing was absolutely mind-boggling. I'm glad they didn't go with that. Also, with Dana being the sister of Michael Myers, it's just rinse and repeat. I know we've got rinse and repeat after that anyway, with the eventual return of Laurie Strode, etc., reboots, remakes, and stuff like that. But seeing a new character come in and being related to Michael Myers in that way as a sister to Michael, you must be like that. What? Again? At least we got Tommy, Micah, the Wallaces and Dr. Loomis. That kind of confirms that Halloween 1, 2, 4, 5 and 6 are all part of the same timeline. I know that the Halloween timeline is all messed up, not as much as the Texas Chainsaw timeline, but it is a bit of a messed up timeline. But if they did bring this script out, I think one of the saving graces for this script would be that it merges all those timelines together. Throughout this script, I read about all the kills as well. There's a lot of kills in this one. They're all very graphic as well. And I think Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, was quite a graphic film anyway, one of the most brutal Michael Myers that we got. So I think if this script came into fruition, then this would probably just as equally as brutal as the one that we got, maybe even more so. It's funny because when we have got the eventual Curse of Michael Myers, it still looked into the lore of family trees without saying it, the Thorn Curse, the cult of Michael Myers. It's all very magical and mystical, and it's almost like they got like 20 scripts and every single one of them had to have some sort of element of a supernatural cult or curse, and we still got that anyway. So this script that we got with this, it's just as bad as what we actually got. More characters' names that returned was Brady's, and although Brady died in Halloween 4, we get to see his parents. In this one, they're interviewed by Dana as well. So again, it just gets that connection to Halloween 4 a little bit stronger. A Captain Kirk mask appears in the movie too. When Michael Myers goes to get his Michael Myers costume, we see a Captain Kirk mask as well. Why is it called 666? Well, you would think it's because it's the mark of the devil or whatever, but apparently the only reason it's called 666 is because there's a camera crew in one of the scenes called Channel 6 News, and Michael Myers kills the cameraman and he uses his blood, I don't know why, but he uses his blood to draw two other sixes on the van, so it now reads 666. The town of this script is divided. You've got some of the town, like the teens and stuff, they're celebrating Halloween, they're buying Michael Myers costumes and they're loving it because they're famous or infamous for what happened with Michael Myers. But then you've got other people in the town that maybe were affected by Michael Myers, maybe their family member was killed by Michael and they don't celebrate Halloween and they hate the thought of people celebrating a serial killer. So the town is divided because of that. I was a bit disappointed in Sheriff Meeker in this script because he played a big role in Halloween 4 and a bit in Halloween 5. But in this one, he was just downsized to that one scene where he's sitting at the Michael Myers house waiting for Michael Myers to return. And even though Michael Myers does return, we don't see a face-off between Meeker and Myers, so his scenes in this film were kind of pointless. If we go back to the store where the Myers and the Captain Kirk mask was sold, we also get, the silver shamrock masks. Not only do the Wallaces appear in this movie, we also see the Wallace house when Dana goes to the house. Michael Myers also goes to the Wallace house as well, so that would have been a bit of nostalgia for me if I got to see the Wallace house in a Halloween film again and see Michael Myers going up to the Wallace house as well. That would be quite eerie. If we go back to Scott Spiegel not liking the script, one of the reasons he didn't like the script is because Michael Myers acts as a homeless person in this one, sort of like Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. And that's what we get. We see Michael Myers going from A to B. No longer is he a mystery. We don't know. We normally don't know where he's been, what he's doing in between takes, whereas in this one, we follow Michael Myers' journey from A to B as a homeless man. I just don't like that. I didn't like it in Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, and it sounds like I wouldn't like it in this. Explanations for Tommy Doyle's actions are never explained either. Like, he's got this VR headset and he's able to hack the VR headset to show the past, which is bizarre in itself, but they never explain how he got to do that or why he does that. How did they come across being able to do that? It's just not explored at all. We just find out he's able to use this as a digital Ouija board. And the only reason that they do it this way is because it's a cheap way for the audience to find out the history of Michael Myers without the characters explaining it to us. If they just opened up a book about the history of Haddonfield and read about the Myers family, that would have been more acceptable to me, but they had to put technology into it. Now, there's this vaporous mask that they talk about in this script that follows Michael Myers. With the family curse that they got, there's an invisible mask that goes over Michael Myers, so even though he uses a mask to hide his face, underneath that face mask, there's this vaporous mask that keeps him evil, so that would explain how he's killing people with a mask off. He doesn't need a mask on to kill people. He's got this invisible vaporous mask, which is the curse of the family tree, and it can't stop him from killing people, and it makes him kill people. Dr. Loomis is just a cameo in this one. Like I said at the beginning of the video, he talks to Tommy Doyle, but that's his only involvement in the movie. Apparently in the script with his dialogue is really good and quite strong, and a good send-off for Dr. Loomis as well, but he only plays a role in that one scene. He just goes on to mention about Michael Myers ruining his life. He chased Michael Myers his whole life, and he can't do it any longer, and he suggests to Tommy that he shouldn't do it either because it will also ruin Tommy's life. As mentioned, Father Carpenter is actually Reverend P. Sayre from Halloween 4, so he plays different roles unintentionally and intentionally. Now, this was Phil Rosenberg's reason for the Man in Black. Now, the Man in Black appears in Halloween 5, and he doesn't want the Man in Black's appearance in Halloween 5 just to go nowhere. So what he tries to do is explain it away as Reverend P. Sayre. He appears as other people for no reason whatsoever other than just to watch over the town of Haddonfield. There's no explanation as to why. It's just our interpretation of what he's doing there. And it's a way of what he says is a way of connecting Halloween 4 and 5 and 6 together, and also just explaining away the Man in Black's involvement. Why wasn't it made? Well, it was all down to Mustafa Akkad, and I kind of thank him for this because I don't like the script. But when Miramax said to him, this is a script that we're going to go with, he kept on saying, no, absolutely not, get it rewritten, redo it, etc., etc. Because of that, and all the delays that kept on happening, Miramax folded and they said, do you know what, it's fine, we're not going to use this script. So that's ultimately why this specific script wasn't used. So due to the involvement of Miramax as well now, not just Mustafa Akkad having a say, that's why this film took longer to come out, because there was just nothing that they could agree on. It's almost like they intentionally didn't like each other's ideas because they were putting their foot down saying, nope, I want the final say. Miramax were like, nope, I want the final say. So that's why this film just took longer to come out with so many scripts that they were looking at. But what could have been with a movie produced by Tarantino, written by Roger Avary and directed by Scott Spiegel? That would probably be the ultimate Halloween sequel. Had everybody had their chips in order from the beginning, nobody declined things, nobody put their foot down because they didn't want to be the one that didn't have the final say. If they all came together and said, yes, we'll accept Tarantino, yes, we'll accept Scott Spiegel, yes, we'll accept Avary, let's get it done straight away. If they'd done this in 1992, 1993, then they could have had the movie out by 1994 after Pulp Fiction, and because of the success of Pulp Fiction, everybody would have went to see Halloween 6 because of all of Tarantino's involvement, and then it would have been a major success. Even if the movie wasn't great, it would have been a box office success. But it wasn't to be. They weren't to be involved. Phil Rosenberg's script wasn't to be. and it just wasn't made. So what are your thoughts on that, guys? And do you think this is the most bizarre scrap script of all time, at least up until this point? I know I've got quite a bit more to go, but I just think this was absolutely bizarre with the involvement of Tarantino, with the rewrites, with the eventual Halloween 6 that we got. I know we've got more to go through with Halloween 6, but this is just so bizarre. A lot I didn't know, a lot I already knew as well, but I read more into it. But it's very interesting at the end of the day. But leave your comments down below, guys. Let me know what you think of the whole situation, and I'll talk to you soon.
Meeting adjourned.
I'll be right back.
What are you waiting for, huh?
Coming to get you, Barbara.
Ever played Skin the Cat?
Someone's in the back seat!